Good morning all, and welcome to Daddy's Right Here Live. I'm your host as always, Sabir Aleem. And listen, I will not be sitting here this morning dripping all over the table and all down my shirt and you seeing all these water stains. I got up this morning in enough time to turn the air conditioner up. I did not open the patio doors because it is sweltering outside already. I think it's about maybe about 82, 83 this morning. And it is going to be about 94 today, so it's definitely a beach day today. But and I'm not drinking any coffee only because I didn't have enough time to get it popping this morning. But that's good. I gave myself some time though this morning, so I wasn't all sweaty. For the last few shows, I've been sweating like I don't know what. But anywho, so we are going to go right into the subject matter today. So today, I'm going to be talking about anxiety avoidant relationships, and it's twofold. You know, I've talked a lot over the past couple of weeks about anxiety, again giving recognition to Mental Health Awareness Month, and just because the month has ended, I am not going to stop talking about varied conditions, mood disorders, thought disorders, personality disorders, because all these things factor into what's going on in your relationship. Guaranteed. There's some unresolved trauma from childhood, from failed relationships, failed marriages, parental separation. I mean, it's all kinds of stuff that's going on. All kinds of stuff that's going on, and it doesn't go away. I can't stress enough that I don't care how old you get, I don't care how many years ago the incident happened, it never leaves you. It resides within the crevices of your mind for life. How you deal with it then may very well be what is causing the difficulty today. Because oftentimes we'll suppress things. We'll push it down, we'll stuff it, we won't even think it's there. We tell ourselves that. And then when we enter into a relationship with another person, and you know what? It doesn't even have to be a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife relationship. It doesn't have to be any of that. It can be a relationship with a colleague. It can be a relationship with a friend, a neighbor, anybody. They just stir some stuff up inside of you. And you don't know why. You ever had that one person who you see and you say, I just don't know what it is about that person, but they just rub me the wrong way. I just do not like being around them. It's something about them that I just don't like. You can't put your finger on it. You know it's something. Intuitively, your gut is saying, stay away. It's like you have an internal stay away order because you don't want to be around that person. And not knowing that sometimes some people who we're around actually bring forth the things we need to address. But because we're not in the mode of addressing things within ourselves, we're always addressing things without. You understand what I'm saying? It's always the things outside of us that happen that we react to. We address those things. We either remove ourselves, we remove that situation. We do something to get it away from us. But as I stated, it's inside that you need to go. That's where you need to be going to address the issue. So when you're faced with that particular person, it may be a message being sent to you. Yeah. It may be a message sent to you telling you you need to pay attention to this. Because it's something that you often have asked to be removed from your condition. But the whole thing about asking for something and receiving it is you have to know when it comes. You have to know when it comes. And that brings to mind a story that I've heard over the years about the flood coming and the man on top of his house. He's on the roof of his house because the waters had risen above his front door. They were rising. They were on their way up. And he was on the rooftop. And he was screaming and crying for God to help him. God, please help him. And then here comes a little paddle boat coming up the waterways, and There was a family in there, and the man was waving to him, come on down. We'll take you out of here. We'll take you out of here. He said, no, I'm waiting on God. I'm waiting on God. I'm waiting. Y'all go ahead. And they was like, come on, you fool. It's not. They left. Then here comes a helicopter, emergency helicopter. Light flashing, drop down the ladder to him. They tell him, come on, sir, come on, we got to get out. The wind is picking up, the water is getting higher. No, I'm waiting on God. I'm waiting on God. God is going to save me. Right? Next thing you know, the waters have risen to the roof. The waters have risen to the roof. He had absolutely nowhere to go. And eventually, he slipped, fell into the water, and the water carried him away. So obviously, when it was his turn to stand before God and be held accountable, he wanted to ask God a question. And he asked God, he said, God, I yelled and screamed for you. I called to you. And I asked you to save me. Why didn't you save me? And he said to the man, he said, do you remember the boat? The family that was in the boat that called to you and asked for you to come down so they could take you away to safety. He said, yes. He said, do you remember the helicopter? The emergency helicopter that dropped the ladder down to you and told you to come on, climb on because things were getting worse and we needed to get you out of here. He said, yes. He said, I was sending you help. I was sending you help. I'm saying all of that to say is that when you're asking God to help you with something, you have to pay attention when he sends it. Oftentimes, there are people who enter into our lives. I know some of you probably heard this before. For a reason, a season, or a time. Don't know how long that period is going to be. But whatever point that person shows up, you have to learn how to make it a learning curve. You have to. It's important. Because that one person that you have a problem with, that you have such a difficult time engaging, may be that one person sent to you to help you in that area of your life. Because it's not just that one person. It's a characteristic of that person that just stirs something up inside. That person can remind you of a former love that went bad. That person can remind you of that bully in school. That person can remind you of a variety of things. And you have to find out what it is about that person. Not by judging the person, but by looking inside of yourself and looking at, okay, so when this person does this, or when this person says that, or their presence, what is it about their character? What is it about their personality? What is it about their behavior that is so off-putting? Sometimes it's envy and jealousy. Yeah. Sometimes you envy that person and don't even realize it. Because it's something that they have or something that they have done that you have denied yourself from doing. This is serious stuff, folks. And again, until you start looking at yourself, until we start looking at ourselves, we're going to miss a whole lot of growth opportunities. I am always looking for an opportunity to grow. Always. It's important. It's very important. And I gave these guys, I was talking about something in one of my fatherhood classes I was facilitating. And I was saying, I was in my flow. And I made a statement. And the guy said, ho, back up, stop. Say that again, slowly, because they all wrote it down. They want to write it down. They said, oh, that was a heavy piece there. So what I said to them was, in the flow of my conversation, that when in conflict, make every moment a teach you about me moment instead of a tell you about you moment. And it had rolled off my tongue so easily, and it wasn't because I'm this wonderful, great, knowledgeable person, but I am wise. I'm wise from my experiences that I've dealt with in life. And as a clinician, that's another aspect of it. But personally, I have come to understand that when you make I statements, when you're telling a person something, when a person says or does something, and you want to respond to it, because it's a difference between reacting and responding. When you react, you don't think about it. That's that id. Remember the id that I talked about? That part of self that wants what it wants, when it wants it, and it's never going to deviate from that. When that id kicks in, that's reacting. When your ego and superego kick in, that's your morality. Those are your values. Those are your beliefs. Those are your true self. I'm not talking about the created self. I'm talking about the self that has over time become conditioned to see life through a particular lens, and you adhere to that to the best of your ability. So when you're in the situation, when something happens, the first thing most of us want to do is to react. But when you're responding to a situation, you're allowing yourself an opportunity to think first. To think first. And you already know who you're interacting with. Like, it's some things you won't say to your mother. It's some things you won't say to your father. It's some things you won't say to your employer. But there are things that you will say to those close to you who don't have those positions. You will say something entirely different. Same situation, but you'll say something entirely different. Why is that? And again, that goes back to your ego and superego, because those are your morals, those are your values, those are your world views. And you know that if you talk out of the side of your face to your employer, that you can lose your job. You know that if you talk that way to your parents, you could lose your footing. Your footing, get it? You can lose your footing, get knocked on your behind. You know that if you walk up to some thug out on the street with that kind of behavior, that you can find yourself dead. So why is it my family members? Why is it my wife, my girlfriend, your husband, whatever, gets all the stuff? That's the beauty of a relationship. When you are in a relationship with someone, you get all of their stuff. There's no way around it. I don't know who came up with it. It's just the nature of law. Maybe I'll do some more research on, of that area. But we give our partners everything because they're supposed to take everything. Believe it or not. Yeah. They're supposed to. I can't explain it to you right now. I'll do some more research on it and I'll come back to you with a show on it. But it's just a natural thing to do because of the connectedness between you and that other person. You love me. You shouldn't be judging me. You shouldn't be judging me. You're supposed to be my friend. And that's missing from a lot of relationships, friendships. And, I'll do some shows on that as well because, we have our different levels of friendship. And we know we do. But we'll call a person a friend, and if you look at the definition of friend and you apply it to the relationships that you have, or you compare it to the relationships you have that you call friendships, and you look at the definition, and then you will see where this person you have certain limitations with, but when you look at the definition doesn't support that. The definition doesn't support the parameters that you have set for this particular relationship. So you set different parameters for each relationship, and you call them friends. But look at the definition, and you come away from it with a different thought. See, this is why it's also important that we read, that we do research on things, that we understand definitions of words. That we understand definitions of words. It's funny, I was telling somebody, I work with some education folks, and I was telling them that every word has a definition. Like I'm telling them something they didn't know. But I also said that even the word A, the first letter of the alphabet, The first letter of the alphabet has a definition. None of the other letters in the alphabet have definitions of, well, the Y and X, but they're chromosomal, they're not words. But the word A, the very first word, right, of the dictionary, the very first word of the alphabet, a word and a letter. So they told me, they said, well, listen, Mr. Aleem, it's a little too early in the morning to be going that deep, but we got you. But what I'm saying is, it's important that we stop continuing to live life without delving into the understanding of our humanness. All too often, the definition of our humanness comes from our religious doctrine. We look at the scripture, we look at the surahs, we read those things, and those things begin to define our humanity for most of us. But if you read and study, read and study, you begin to see characteristics of man. And when I say characteristics of man, I'm talking about the human being. You begin to see. And that's what you have to start doing in terms of what science has revealed about our existence and our being. It's important to understand that. It's important to understand why you do what you do. That's important to understand. You can't keep brushing everything off like it's irrelevant. You can't keep, having failed relationship after failed relationship after failed relationship without taking a look at yourself, constantly blaming somebody else. You can. You can. That's a choice that you can make, because life is full of choices. You can make that decision to continue to live life that way. But how fruitful is that life? Is that what you truly want? Those are the kind of things that you have to begin to look at. So doing these shows, that's my intent. And again, for those of you who may be unfamiliar with Daddy's Right Here, and most of you are familiar, Daddy's Right Here Incorporated is a non-profit family services organization that seeks to decrease father absenteeism. Changing the relationship between the father and the child, the father and the mother of the child, and also changing them as individuals. Because if the parents don't change their condition, that condition will be transferred to the child. The child has already got some things because they both gave those 23 chromosomes apiece. So there was already a contribution made. But if the two parents don't get themselves together, then that child will be greatly impacted. Greatly impacted. And you'll hear a whole lot, especially when you talk about males. You'll hear a whole lot of young boys talk about, man, dude ain't never did nothing to me. I ain't got no love for him. Nah, it ain't. Listen, I had no love for my father based on my mother's outcome with him. So when you talk negatively about the other parent, it forms an opinion, it forms a view of not just that parent, that male, that father, right? But of other men, of other males. And it also develops a consciousness within them early on about who they are going to be and who they are not going to be. And I'm certainly not going to be like the other parent, my parent. I'm not going to be like my father. I'm not going to be like my mother. This is what children tell themselves. So unbeknownst to you, there's another contribution you're making to their self-concept, their self-image. You're making another contribution. Another contribution. But it's still your responsibility. If that was your husband, if that was your boyfriend, before the madness came, why would you step away from that responsibility now? Even more so, you need to be more engaging and more involved and more supportive of that other parent, because that's that child's parent. And we're doing it in reverse. You can't do that. Listen, we've all made that mistake in some degree. All of us. Because we get in our feelings, we're hurt, and then we do things, forgetting. That was my love at one point. It may still be my love, but not just in the same capacity that we were when we were together. You don't hate a person unless they were abusive towards you when the relationship ends. It just didn't work. It just didn't work. And you knew the conditions that were before you entered into the relationship in most cases. You saw the signs, you got into it anyway. You got into it anyway. And now you want to bash the other person because the outcome, the desired outcome, didn't come to fruition as planned. So now you're mad at them. But oftentimes you create an environment where the other parent doesn't want to be bothered with you. They have to sacrifice, in their minds, they have to sacrifice one or the other. If I want to be involved in the life of my child, right, I got to deal with this. She's not doing anything different. She's still throwing jabs at me. He's still doing this. And we continue to go back and forth and don't bring any resolve to that. Meanwhile, the child's looking up at us like, y'all just two fools. And you're forcing the child to make a decision as to what parent is going to be loved by the child. And it's not always the primary custodial parent. Because what they hear in the environment, they hear you always talking negative about the other parent. The parent don't even live there, and you still bash the parent like they live there. And they're sitting there overhearing this conversation. And they're feeling some sympathy towards the other parent who's still getting beat up. They heard it in the crib, now they're hearing it at a distance. So they're forced to make a decision. I say all that to say that you have to begin to look at yourself. You have to begin to look at how you grew up, circumstances you've been in, living conditions. All these things contribute to many of the conditions that become serious mental health conditions as a result of the continued unresolved. You won't find peace outside of you until you get peace within yourself. You'll never find it. You'll never find it. Because your spirit is interrupted. It's impeded from being able to do those things. So let's go to the article because, again, the article today is on thelovecompass.com. 5 tips for an anxious avoidant relationship. 5 tips for an anxious avoidant relationship. The article doesn't have an author's name because I always give credit where credit is due. Hold on, here it is. Erica Djossa. I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly, Erica. If I didn't, forgive me, but I always want to make sure I give credit where credit is due for these articles because they're great articles. They help all of us in some capacity. Okay, so let's go down to a part. I don't want all the extra stuff here. Okay, people with an anxious attachment style tend to activate or move toward when they feel that the security in their relationship is threatened. Whereas people with an avoidant attachment style tend to deactivate or disengage when faced with relationship challenges. As you can imagine, this can create a pursue-withdrawal pattern. Herein lies the problem. The more an avoidant partner withdraws, the more it activates the anxious partner, causing them to pursue. The opposite can also be true. The more an anxious partner pursues, the more overwhelming it can become for an avoidant partner, causing them to withdraw. Are these relationships doomed? Is there hope? Can these relationships be helped? I see this pattern in my relationship, but what can I do about it? I have been asked many of these questions, and yes, there is hope. There is always hope. And if I can go back for a minute in helping you to understand, excuse me, about the anxious attachment style and the avoidant, attachment style. And I'm going to do a show on that so you'll get a very clear picture. I'm going to do that next week. Right now I just want to give you a picture of what that relationship looks like, so you can have in your mind some information and imagery related to your own situation to see if those things are possible factors in your relationship. And next week I'll do one, and then I'll do the other the following week, so you can actually see the conditions of an avoidant person and an anxious person. Because I talked about anxiety, but I want to talk a little more about that, because anxiety exists within a lot of people. A lot of people. You know, when people are afraid to do certain things, when people delay doing certain things, a lot of that has to do with anxiety. But we'll get back to that. So, it says that people with an anxious attachment style tend to activate. So it's like the Jerry curl, right? Get up in the morning, it's dry, it's matted, stuck to your face, right? It just looks like a mess. You know, some of it is just a droop down, or whatever it is, depending on the kind of curl you got. So you get the bottle, and next thing you know, the curl, it starts tightening up, it starts curling up, you run your fingers through it, and now it has some form, it has some shape to it, right? So that's activating an anxious attachment style, because we're talking about attachment as well. So I got to do a show on attachment, so you can understand anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, because these are personality styles. Anxiety may be a mood disorder, but when you look at an anxious attachment style, that's how that person engages everything around them. Okay? So the anxious attachment style, they tend to activate. That means the mind gets to racing, all these thoughts get going on, worries start kicking in, fears start kicking in, right? And they move away from, or they move toward, because it talks about here, because it can flip too. But a person who has anxiety, they're very worrisome people. Very fearful, engulfed people. Fearful of a lot of things. A lot of things. Just something going wrong. It's a cartoon I watched many, many years ago. And the character in the cartoon always said, "It'll never work. I'm telling you, it'll never work." And the other character would try to come up with all these great, wonderful ideas, and the other character, "It'll never work. I'm telling you, it'll never work." That's the relationship. If you can kind of get that picture, if you've ever seen a cartoon, I can't think of the name of it. I don't think it's Pinky and the Brain. I forget what it is. I'm probably dating myself right now too. So, when they feel the security of their relationship is threatened. So, that's what that person that has that anxious attachment style does. You know, they latch onto the situation, and it's all these worry-based methods of thinking. The whole perception is based on the racing thoughts. It's going to be difficult. It's not going to work. Why can't you? You get all of that. Whereas with people with an avoidant attachment style tend to deactivate. Alright, so now we're going back to how that curl looked in the morning. It's deactivated. It's just laying there. It's just matted to your face. You get up and walk around, it just doesn't move. It doesn't have any kind of form to it other than what you had from your pillow and laying down and whatever else you did that night or that morning. They disengage. So here you have one person coming at, what are we going to do about this? How can we fix this? Baby, we need to do this, we need to do that. Oh, you're going to leave me. No, we got to fix this. The other person just like, listen, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. Just ain't going to happen. I'm just not dealing with it. Now this ain't word, I'm just not dealing with it. I don't want to talk about it. We've gone over and over this. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to fix it. Right? So take off the analogy that I gave with the story about the two characters in the cartoon and what I just gave you. Now I want you to have a visual about your relationship, because you want to look at your different styles. Like there are different styles of parenting. Some are authoritative, some are authoritarian, some are passive. So it's different styles to everything about us in how we interact with the rest of the world. Okay, so let's go to the first one on the list. Number one on that list is practice awareness. The first step towards change in any situation is the extent in which you are aware of the problem. The first step towards change in any situation is the extent in which you are aware of the problem. In this case, awareness means understanding that you and your partner are in a pattern of behavior that is unhelpful and destructive to the relationship. It also includes your awareness for the behaviors and underlying emotions driving the cycle. This is known as deconstructing the cycle. Once you are each aware that you are in a cycle and you have awareness for what the cycle looks like, it becomes easier to make choices that will invite change. So again, it goes back to, if you're in a relationship with someone, we're talking about boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, and wife, that relationship, if it's loving, if it's fulfilling, and it's healthy, both of you should be willing to look at the situation. Both of you should be having a discussion about this situation. Whatever we need to become aware, we both need to be aware of the fact that it's a problem. And most of the times we're aware that it's a problem, but in many cases the other person is the problem. It ain't me. But we both contribute to the problem. If one of you is dealing with it and one of you is not dealing with it, is that a problem? Yeah. Because you're both not willing to deal with it. But if you're in a loving, healthy, and fulfilling relationship, or you're working towards those things, and that's the foundation, you should be becoming aware of what's happening. You should want to know what's going on. Why? Because that helps you to maintain a healthy, loving, and fulfilling relationship. That's the only way you're going to have it that way. So when it talks about deconstructing the cycle, you constructed the cycle. That person didn't do it on their own. This pattern of destructive behavior in this relationship was established by the both of you. Therefore, it's going to take the both of you, right, to deconstruct the cycle. It's going to take both of you to do that, not one person. So to sit back and say, well, you need to do, you need to work on yourself, you need to fix that, you need to do this, and you need to do that. No. There's some things that I must do as well. Even if it's a matter of being more patient, even if it's a matter of being more tolerant, even if it's a matter of listening, not just hearing. Even if it's a matter of stop being so opinionated about everything. Whatever it is, there's something you can do to deconstruct the cycle, put an end to that pattern of behavior, and move on. Because there are going to always be things that come up. It's inevitable when two people are together. It's inevitable for things to happen. It's inevitable that we're going to disagree about some things. We may even have an argument. But we shouldn't have to fight about it. We shouldn't have to fight about it. So number one is practice awareness. Number two Now, y'all ready for this? Put your seatbelts on. Don't take it personally. I know. And everybody just, oh man, don't take it personally. How can I not take it personally if this person is doing this to me, if it's hurtful, if it's offensive, if it's problematic? Well, if you're aware that there's a problem and the two of you have talked about it and the two of you are working on it, you understand that it's the person's character, it's a character flaw that we all have, and that that person needs to work on their flaw, but your flaw is how you react to their flaw being presented. What do you do with that when it's presented? One of the most common hurdles for overcoming any helpful pattern of behavior in a couple relationship is not taking your partner's hurtful behavior personally. Most unhelpful patterns in a loving relationship arise out of unmet attachment needs. This is not to say that our partner's behavior is not hurtful, but that their hurtful behavior is stemming from an unexpressed and often unacknowledged need for security in the couple bond. In this way, it is important to remember that the cycle is the problem, not the couple. Once couples can see that their partner's behavior is typically aimed at trying to establish connection and security and not being insignificant or a failure, it becomes easier to become more engaged in the healing process. Folks, listen. I may not be the sharpest pencil in the box, but I have a point. And one of the things that I say to you guys all the time, I just peruse the article to see if it's in alignment with where I want to go. I have no idea about its content until I read it. I just got saying all of these very same things to you. It's difficult to not personalize somebody's behavior in a relationship. It's difficult because there are expectations. And yes, there are conditions on every relationship. There is no such thing as unconditional love. Think about it. And I'm willing to debate anyone on that one. I'm an intellectual. Trust me, I'll figure it out. But what I'm saying to you, there is always a condition. Always a condition for a relationship. Even if it's a condition of it has to be healthy, loving, right? And fulfilling. It has to be that. That is a condition, isn't it? Come on now, talk to me. There are conditions, okay? When you look at the fact that I'm in this relationship with you, you have to understand first and foremost, I am an individual. Before we're a couple, I am an individual. We're two individuals together as a couple. We all come with our own set of stuff, our own baggage, our own biases, our own prejudices. We come with all of those things. All of those things. Therefore, you have to let me function as an individual in order for this to work. So we need to look at what's happening. Because again, the couple is not in trouble. The couple is not, what does it say here? Oh, I'm the wrong one. Oh, it is important to remember that the cycle is the problem, not the couple. So you have to look at the individual is in trouble, first and foremost, because they have this maladaptive behavior that keeps presenting in a relationship, that keeps us in this cycle of behavior. You follow me? So you have to break the cycle. It says it. This is not to say that our partner's behavior is not hurtful, but that their hurtful behavior is stemming from an unexpressed and often unacknowledged need for security in the couple bond. And again, it goes back to if I'm fearful of things, if I'm a worrywart, if I'm always in my head about stuff, how does that present in this relationship? Think about it for a minute. How does it present in a relationship? A lot of times, I'm so, and again, when you look at a codependent person as well, right? A codependent person who has an anxious attachment style, what is that going to look like? Once couples can see that their partner's behavior is typically aimed at trying to establish connection and security. Because don't you want to feel safe in a relationship? And I mean, when you talk about wanting to feel safe in a relationship, the first thing is people relate that to women. A woman wants to feel safe in her relationship with her man. She wants to know that you're going to protect her, not just protect her with a 9mm or AK-47, but protect everything about her being. Protect her from harm with your shenanigans, which means not going outside of the relationship. Protect her in the sense that you continue to get yourself educated, and if you want to continue to experience upward mobility at your job. Because when you stay at a certain point and you're not seeking to earn more, or you're not managing your monies wisely, that becomes a problem. How secure is a woman going to feel in that relationship? But likewise for a man. A man doesn't want to have a woman who squanders her funds. A man doesn't want to see a woman who just, is irresponsible in her actions, flirty, with other men. Whether there's an intent or not, there's something that's a core to that. There's a core to that behavior. Because being flirty when you're single, that's fine. Still being flirty when you have a partner, that's not fine. That's not fine. So you have to look at all these behaviors. You have to look at all, because, again, it's not that the person is seeking to harm you. And yes, you feel harmed by the behavior. And I'm not telling you not to feel harmed by their flirtatious behavior. I'm not telling you that. But it's not, don't take it personal, because it's not directed at you. But it's a conversation that needs to be had with that person to do what? Increase their awareness about a problem. Because I have to take in consideration at all times, my partner's feelings and thoughts about things. Feelings and thoughts about things. Just because I don't think that way doesn't mean that I need to tell her not to think that way. And we often say that, well, you ain't got to be jealous or nothing. You shouldn't be thinking that way about me. Well, it's a reason why I think that way. And yes, I can work on that, but it's something that I don't like. Listen, my woman should be the center of attention in any venue. If I'm in the bathroom taking a damn shower, she should be in the center of my thoughts. As I soap up, as I rinse off, I should be thinking of her. Anywhere we go, if we're in Walmart, she should be the center of my attention. You need me to get that, babe? I got that. Don't worry about it. Well, go ahead. You get this. I'll go get that. Always. Let me grab that. Always. So if she's feeling like, or he's feeling like your behavior, your flirtatious behavior, right, creates discomfort, don't just tell the other person, well, you need to get over it. No. You need to fix it. You need to fix it. A healthy, loving, and fulfilling relationship. That's what I'm looking for. Right? So if that's what you're looking for, you have to create it. The next thing on the list, slow down. And this is a really long paragraph. I don't think I'm going to read the whole thing. Often, when couples get caught up in their cycle, remember, you get caught up in a cycle. This is not the person. This is the cycle. It can be quite overwhelming and visceral. Tempers flare, yelling ensues, and feelings are hurt. In a matter of seconds, you can find yourself so caught up in your emotional experience that it can be hard to see how the cycle is pushing you and your partner around. The cycle is doing this. Y'all caught up in that cycle. You know, the washing machine, you put the clothes on there, it sits, it soaks, and then it starts agitating. Right. Got me? And then it goes into spin. Use that analogy for your relationship. You're just sitting in the water. One's anxious, worrying about it, trying to have dialogue about it. The other ain't doing nothing, don't want to deal with it, don't want to talk about it, sick of hearing about it. You're just sitting in that water. You're just sitting in it. Next thing you know, you hear the click of the washing machine. Something said, something done. Here comes the agitation. Here comes the agitation. Things move from the top down to the bottom. That's part of the agitation. Things move from the top down to the bottom, right? From the head, what you think about it, the heart, your feelings, your emotions, the gut. So same way, it's agitating. It's agitating, right? It continues to go unresolved. Now it's spinning. Now things are being said that don't need to be said, but you're in your feelings. You can't stop yourself. And then what happens? At the end of the cycle, the spinning stops. Everything, all the water, all the detergent, the fabric softener has been rinsed out of the clothing. Not all of it, I can tell you that. And then what happens? Everything is pressed up against the side of the walls of the washing machine. And then they flop down. They're spent. They done gave everything they had. They're exhausted. They're exhausted. They can't give anything else. Then you hang them out to dry, you throw them in the dryer. That's how this cycle is. That's what a cycle actually is. It sits, it agitates, it spins, and it empties. And next thing you know, you're both sitting outside on the doorstep talking about how did we get here. Even after couples come into our office and spend time deconstructing the cycle and have a knowing for the behaviors, thoughts, and core feelings that drive the cycle, the actual visceral response that can take place when those attachment needs are activated can make it extremely difficult to hold on to the tools that will help you at the moment when you need them most. I hope I'm pronouncing that word correctly. Visceral, I think it's visceral, but if I'm wrong, what it's talking about here is the response is based on everything that's already within you. You remember I was talking about your thoughts, your feelings, your conditions, your traumas, your unresolved, all those things. And when you get caught up, that reaction is based on all of those things. And you're caught up once again in that cycle. And you can't stop yourself, because the last sentence, it says here that it can make it extremely difficult to hold on to the tools that will help you at the moment when you need them most. These tools go right out the door. All that stuff that you dealt with in counseling, all this stuff that you've watched and learned on the shows, right? That you got in your mind, you ready to go, and you step into the situation and you forget about what I said to you earlier. When in conflict, make every moment a teach you about me moment instead of a tell you about you moment. That went out the door. It's on your mirror. You see it every day. It's a little sticker on your car dashboard. And as soon as it goes down, you go right into that cycle. You can't help yourself. You can't help yourself. So now here your partner, remember that thing. Okay, I'm going to make this moment a teach you about me moment. I'm going to use I statements. I'm going to talk about me. It all just went out the window. Because this other person is talking about something that's uncomfortable. Something that's part of that cycle. And it just starts over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah, that's how it happens. You do your best You do your best, you really do. You have the best intentions. And again, you're sitting out on the doorstep wondering how you got there again. How did we get here again? We just went through this last month. How are we back here again? And you go back to the counseling again, and you talk about it. We got right back into the cycle again. Well, what didn't you do? We didn't use the tools. Okay. But what do you think kept you from using the tool? What was going on within you right in that moment? Because you have all the evidence to support that I love this person. I want to be with this person. This is not a bad relationship. It's healthy, it's loving, and it's fulfilling. But we keep getting caught up in this area here. So you can't go to counseling and as soon as you walk out the door, go back to business as usual. You have to have conversation in between. See, when you revisit things, after counseling, you should always sit down together and revisit things. And you should always continue to revisit those things within yourself. So by the time the situation comes again, by the time that irrigation begins to happen, you already have some different thinking. Because it's cognitive. It's really what you think about the circumstance. So you have to always be practicing those behaviors before. It's like you don't just jump into a ring and fight Mike Tyson and didn't have any training just thinking that you could fight. You might be a good fighter. But this is a skilled boxer. This is a skilled athlete. The things that you can do on the street and probably get away with on the street, you can't do in a ring. You can't do in a ring. You can't grab me and throw me down in the boxing ring. So you have to train. You have to watch film. You have to know what to look for. You have to know when to bob and weave. You have to know when to back up. You have to know how much space to create. You have to know when they throw the left that they drop their right. You have to know all those things. There's a whole lot of things that you have to know. And these are the things you learn in counseling about your relationship. When you do this, I do that. When I do that, you do this. When you hold, I turn my back. You start learning all those different things. Right? Because now you're seeing it. This is your sparring session. You get a chance to see what it really looks like. And then it's like, oh, now I see. Now I got it. So that's important to understand. Again, I'm not going to read the rest of it because it's like it's a very long paragraph. But one of the things it does says in here is that what is often helpful here is to distinguish between taking a break and avoiding argument. We are not suggesting that couples stop talking to each other when things start to feel activated. That would be avoiding an argument. What we are suggesting is for couples to take a break from the context that is triggering an unhelpful emotional reaction so that they are better able to use the tools, right, that they're being given in therapy. Again, in between that, listen, vow to not talk about it this week. Can we agree to not talk about this matter this week? Okay. That's just because this keeps coming up and it always gets ugly. This week we won't talk about it. And we'll try to revisit it next week. But right now, let us both study these tools. Let us both take a look at ourselves. And let's see how we can work this out. Okay? The last thing, not the last thing. Okay, I'm going to be a few minutes over. Well, I got to start a few minutes late, that's fine. Own and honor your experience. Once we learn that we are in a cycle, and we learn the behaviors, thoughts, and core feelings that drive the cycle, we also come to understand our own role in it, and how the cycle was created and maintained. Because once it's created, you keep it going. It's being maintained. Often partners struggle to feel justified in their actions, even when it's clear that those actions are hurtful to their partner or perpetuating the cycle. It is hard to learn that your behavior or reactions to being hurt may have caused hurt to your partner. or be part of the trap that you feel caught in. To own your feelings and actions is a relationship, in a relationship is difficult because it means that we have to be vulnerable to our partners. This can be especially difficult if you have spent a lot of time with your partner in a state of psychological warfare, which is often what these patterns or behaviors can feel like. However, in order to move forward, you each need to take responsibility for your behavior and emotional reactions. This is the only way toward rebuilding trust with your partner. Taking responsibility for your needs also creates space for you to identify and ask for what you need to feel secure in the relationship. Listen, let me say this. I can tell you that probably one of the greatest factors that I have experienced in my marriages, right? I've been married 4 times. One of the things that I've experienced throughout all of them is ownership of my stuff. My experience throughout has always been, it's your stuff, that's what you think, that's how you see it. And again, this is not saying anything negative about them. My own codependent behavior, right, kept me in those circumstances that were not healthy and fulfilling. I can't say that they weren't loving, because there was love there, but they weren't healthy and they weren't fulfilling. So when I look across the board, I own my stuff. But codependent people do. But codependent people own their stuff because they don't want the other person to leave them. Therefore, they take a lot of stuff. And then when they're tired of taking stuff, the cycle, conflict and confrontation. Each person has to own their own stuff. That's your behavior. What you did is not right. It affects our relationship, and we need to fix it. And my experience in most of the cases have been, I need to be the one to fix it, or I need to be the one to accept it. And if I choose not to, then I subject myself to a loss of the relationship. Or I can sit in a relationship and just be there.